Neapolitan, the sacred rules. Why did Italy create actual pizza police? Because the world kept destroying their masterpiece. Naples has the AVPN, pizza cops with more rules than the mafia. Flour must be double O grade, tomatoes only from Mount Vesuvius, wood-fired oven at exactly 485 degrees for exactly 90 seconds. Overcook it by 10 seconds? Criminal. Cut the basil with a knife instead of tearing it by hand? Straight to jail. Real Neapolitan pizza is so wet in the center, you can't eat it with your hands without looking like a savage. Here's the twist. Italians lobbied UNESCO, the same organization that protects ancient pyramids, to give legal protection to pizza dough. Let that sink in. They put pizza on the same level as World Heritage sites. Only 3 ingredients allowed on margherita: red sauce, white mozzarella, green basil. The Italian flag. Add pepperoni and you've committed a hate crime. This isn't food, it's nationalism you can eat. New York slice, the street hustle. Why do New Yorkers fold their pizza? Because eating it flat marks you as a tourist or a cop. This massive, greasy triangle built an empire on convenience and speed. Here's the secret nobody talks about. The legendary taste comes from New York City tap water. The mineral composition makes the dough stretchier and crispier than anywhere else. Pizzerias tried opening in other cities using the exact same recipe. They failed. The water was different. A single slice costs $3 and fuels 8 million people daily. But here's what's insane. In the 1990s, street cart permits sold for over $200,000 on the black market because a good corner spot prints money. If you eat New York pizza with a knife and fork, locals assume you're wearing a wire. This isn't elegant Italian cuisine. This is industrial-grade carbs engineered for people who don't have time to sit down. And it's better than Rome ever made. Fight me! Chicago deep dish, the edible sin. Is this even pizza? Ask an Italian and prepare for violence. Chicago deep dish is 2 inches of pure excess, a casserole masquerading as pizza. Here's why the sauce goes on top. If you put it under the cheese like normal pizza, the cheese would burn to death before the inch-thick dough finishes baking. This is structural engineering, not cooking. 1 slice contains 1,200 calories. That's more than a Big Mac and fries combined. You don't eat this standing up. You need a knife, fork, and a cardiologist on speed dial. The pan is so deep, they borrowed the design from actual cake pans. This was invented in the 1940s to survive Chicago's brutal winters, where thin pizza would freeze before you got it home. Mountains of sausage, pepperoni, and cheese drowning in chunky tomato sauce. It's not subtle, it's not refined, it's a middle finger to Italian tradition baked in steel, and Chicago doesn't apologize for any of it. Detroit style. The industrial accident. This pizza was baked in stolen property. Not borrowed, stolen. Workers at Ford auto plants took blue steel pans meant for small car parts and smuggled them out to make pizza. That industrial-grade steel is the secret. Cheese piled to the edges melts down the scorching metal and caramelizes into a crispy, almost burnt crust that people fight over. The corners are the most valuable real estate on the pizza. In other styles, crust is trash. In Detroit, it's the prize. The dough is thick and airy, fried in so much oil it's basically deep-fried focaccia. Sauce is painted on top in racing stripes, a tribute to Motor City. This is working-class food from when Detroit was the richest city in America. Every bite tastes like industrial pride and stolen cookware, and somehow it works. The pizza that shouldn't exist became Michigan's greatest contribution to food, built on crime, perfected in basements, and absolutely worth it. Hawaiian, the global taboo. Why does pineapple on pizza make the internet lose its mind? Because it breaks every unwritten rule. Here's the irony. Hawaiian pizza has nothing to do with Hawaii. A Greek immigrant in Canada invented it in 1962, inspired by Chinese sweet and sour dishes and canned pineapple from Germany. It's the most international disaster ever created. The president of Iceland once joked he'd ban it by law. Half the world cheered. But here's the uncomfortable truth. 20% of all pizzas sold globally have pineapple on them. 1 in 5. The world is broken, and we're all complicit. Food purists call it culinary terrorism. The combination of cheap ham, canned syrup-soaked pineapple, and melted cheese creates a flavor that shouldn't work, but somehow does for millions of people. It exists purely to provoke. It's the culinary middle finger that won't die. Italians hate it, traditionalists despise it, and it remains a global bestseller because forbidden pleasure always wins. Brazilian pizza? Pure culinary anarchy. What happens when a country looks at Italian pizza rules and decides chaos is better? Brazil. They turn dough into an open battlefield for ingredients that should never meet. One pizza can have corn, green peas, boiled eggs, crab sticks, and mayonnaise. Lots of mayonnaise. But that's just the appetizer. The real madness is dessert pizza. Dough flooded with chocolate, whole bananas, strawberries, and marshmallows melted on top. Pizza edges stuffed with cream cheese or hot dogs. There's no concept of too much. Here's the twist. When Italians tried to sue Brazilian pizzerias for ruining their heritage, they lost in court. Brazil's defense? We're not making Italian pizza, we're making Brazilian pizza. And the judge agreed. This is a country that looked at culinary boundaries and burned them down. Italian chefs weep. Food critics are speechless. Brazilians don't care. This is what happens when you give creative freedom to people who've never heard the word no. It's chaos in edible form, and it's glorious. Frozen supermarket pizza, the cardboard lie. Americans eat 3 billion frozen pizzas every year. 3 billion! We're all guilty. This is the final circle of culinary hell, a chemical achievement designed to survive nuclear winter and your freezer. What's on the box has nothing to do with what's inside. The cheese is vegetable oil and starch that doesn't melt, it sweats. The sauce is sugar water dyed red with herbs that died last decade. The crust tastes like the cardboard box it came in because it basically is. Here's the truth nobody admits. This costs $3 and we buy it anyway. Why? Because it's 2 a.m., the fridge is empty, and we're alone watching YouTube hoping for meaning in our lives. This is industrial despair wrapped in plastic. It has more preservatives than actual food, but it's the most honest product of our time. It doesn't pretend to be art. It doesn't lie about quality. It just fills the void inside you for 11 minutes until you realize you're still empty. We all know it's garbage. We all eat it anyway. That's the real tragedy.